needs a first serve, that's for sure. Can she find it?
She actually did it. 20-year-old Eala destroys world number 8 Paolini in Dubai Thriller and now faces Coco Gauff in insane quarterfinal. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Court Vision Plus, the absolute home of the most explosive, most dramatic, most jaw-dropping tennis coverage on the entire internet. If you are brand new here, first of all, what took you so long? And second of all, you have picked the single greatest moment in recent tennis history to stumble upon this channel. Because today, ladies and gentlemen, we are not here to preview a match. We are not here to speculate, to debate, or to wonder what might happen. No, no, no. We are here to relive, to celebrate, and to completely lose our minds over what just went down under the blazing Dubai lights. And fair warning right now, if you are not strapped in, if you do not have your jaw wired shut, and if you are not in a safe and secure location, then stop what you are doing and get yourself together. Because what Eala just pulled off at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships on the night of February 17, 2026, was not just a tennis match. It was a coronation. It was a declaration. It was the moment the entire women's tour officially looked up, looked around, and realized with cold, spine-chilling clarity that the kid from the Philippines is not going anywhere. We are talking about a 20-year-old girl, 20 years old, stepping onto center court in Dubai, walking into the stadium that was shaking from wall to wall with the deafening roar of Filipino fans waving their flags in the Arabian night air, and completely, utterly, mercilessly dismantling one of the most formidable players on the planet. World number 8, former Dubai champion, French Open finalist, Wimbledon finalist, Jasmine Paolini, one of the most battle-hardened, tactically brilliant veterans in the women's game, was sent home in straight sets. The scoreline? A breathtaking, almost disrespectful 6-1, 7-6, with Eala sealing the deal in a tiebreak so tense, so dramatic, and so perfectly crafted for cinema that even the most seasoned tennis fans in that stadium were chewing through the armrests of their seats. And when that final forehand winner kissed the baseline and Paolini's racket dropped uselessly to the court, the stadium erupted. Not just erupted, it exploded. Chants of "Eala, Eala, Eala" cascaded from every corner of the arena, a tidal wave of Filipino love washing over the young champion who had just made history for the 100th time in what feels like the 100th week in a row. Let us take a breath, because this story deserves every single detail. Let us go right back to the beginning and tell this properly, because understanding how massive this victory truly is requires us to understand who these two women are, what they represent, and just how astronomically high the stakes were when they walked out to shake hands at the net. When the draw was announced and the tennis world saw Eala versus Paolini printed next to each other in the second round, the reactions were polarizing and absolutely electric. On one side, you had the believers, the army of Filipino fans, the growing legion of Eala converts, the people who had watched her tornado through the 2025 Miami Open and understood that this was not your typical young player finding her feet. These people knew. They had seen her dismantle Iga Swiatek, the then world number 2 and reigning queen of the sport, in what was widely described as one of the most fearless performances by a teenager in recent WTA history. They had seen her battle to the final in Eastbourne on grass, proving she wasn't just a one-surface wonder. They had watched her first main draw Grand Slam win at the US Open, and they had tracked every data point that confirmed what their eyes were already telling them. This girl is special in a way that transcends the normal cycle of junior hotshots who flash briefly and then fade. On the other side, you had the skeptics. And look, the skeptics were not stupid. They had a very reasonable case to make. Because on paper, Jasmine Paolini heading into that match was an absolute fortress. A former champion right there in Dubai. A woman who had reached the finals of both Roland Garros and Wimbledon in back-to-back months in 2024, a feat so staggering in its versatility that it still barely makes sense when you say it out loud. clay and grass, and the same year, back-to-back Grand Slam finals. Then in 2025, she backed it all up by capturing the WTA 1000 title in Rome in front of her passionate home crowd, defeating Coco Gauff in the final. She added a Grand Slam doubles title at the French Open alongside Sarah Errani. 5 WTA singles titles to her name, a career-high ranking of world number 4, and a record against aggressive big hitters that would make anyone who studied it thoroughly very nervous about Eala's prospects going in. Paolini had done this before. She had seen the big hitters, absorbed their power, suffocated them with her movement and her angles, worn them down until their forehand misfired under the weight of frustration. The skeptics pointed to all of this and said with confidence, Paolini wins, probably in 3 tight sets. She's too experienced. Eala's too young. And then the match started. What unfolded in that first set was not a tennis match. It was a statement. From the very first point, it was clear that Eala had not come to Dubai to be polite or to play it safe or to nervously absorb Paolini's game and hope for the best. She had come to Dubai to destroy. Within the opening games, it became stunningly apparent that something was different about Eala's serve, a part of her game that, by her own admission and by general tennis consensus, has been the most obvious area for improvement in her overall package. She was landing 67% of her first serves, and a gobsmacking 86% of those first serve points were going her way. 86%. Against a player who makes her living getting the ball back, who can scurry into every corner of the court and redirect pace like a human pinball machine, Eala was winning 86% of first serve points. The implications of that statistic for Paolini's game plan were catastrophic, because Paolini's entire system depends on getting into rallies, on dragging opponents into exchanges where her legendary footwork and tactical variety can take over. When your opponent is essentially unreachable on first serve, that system breaks down before it even begins. Eala held easily in the opening games, and then she did something even more devastating. She broke. And then she broke again. And somehow, impossibly, like a racing car that just kept finding more gears that nobody knew it had, the score reached 6-1 in just 25 minutes. 25 minutes. Jasmine Paolini, world number 8, former champion of this very tournament, had won exactly 1 game in the first set. The Filipino crowd, already electric, went into a state of collective delirium. Banners were unfurled. Flags were waved. And somewhere in the stadium, in multiple sections simultaneously, the chants began to build like a gathering storm. Eala, Eala, Eala. Over and over, a rhythm that seemed to pour directly into Eala's racket, supercharging every shot she hit. Like a champion who has been in deep water before and knows exactly how to swim back to shore, Paolini tightened every single aspect of her game. She got her first break back, leveling at 3-3. Then she held comfortably. Eala found her rhythm again and broke for a 4-3 lead. But this time, when Eala served for the match at 5-3, leading by a set in nearly 2 service games, Paolini pulled off something that reminded the entire tennis world why she has 5 WTA titles to her name. She saved 3 match points. 3 of them. Gone. Erased. At 15-40 twice, and then at advantage out, Paolini found the kind of tennis that champions manufacture from pure nerve and sheer willpower, and she held serve. The crowd fell momentarily silent. A brief, shocked hush, the kind that fills a stadium when something improbable cuts through the noise and demands respect. And then Paolini broke. She broke Eala's serve at 5-5, and for the first time in the match, the scoreline showed something approaching equality. Suddenly the entire complexion of the night had changed. Paolini was now leading 6-5, 1 game away from forcing a deciding third set. The momentum had violently swung. You could feel it in the stadium. You could see it in the postures of both players. The crowd ramped up even louder, because the Filipino fans understood exactly what was on the line, and they responded the only way they know how, by getting louder, by getting closer, by filling every inch of that arena with enough belief and noise to push their girl through whatever was coming next. What came next was Eala serving to stay in the set. serving at 5-6, one game from potentially losing the second set. Knowing that a third set against someone as physically and mentally resilient as Paolini is a brutal proposition for any player, let alone a 20-year-old in her first major second-round showdown. And here is where the story enters the realm of genuinely extraordinary human achievement. Because Eala held that service game. She dug into the kind of mental resources that are not taught at academies and cannot be developed from watching YouTube tutorials. She held. She survived. She forced a tiebreak. And in her post-match press conference, she revealed that when she sat down at the changeover before that tiebreak began, she looked around the stadium, took in every single Filipino face in those stands, and thought to herself, how many of them are probably praying for me to win right now? And then she thought, I really have to give everything I've got. What happened next will be replayed on tennis highlight reels for years. The tiebreak was, by any objective measure, some of the finest tennis played by any player at any level at any event in the early weeks of 2026. The first 8 points of the tiebreak, all 8 of them, ended with outright winners. Clean, controlled, decisive winners, each one more breathtaking than the last. After 8 points, they were perfectly level at 4-4, and the crowd in Dubai was not watching a tennis match anymore. They were watching something more profound than sport. They were watching a 20-year-old from the Philippines carry an entire nation's sporting ambitions on her left-handed shoulders and refuse to buckle under the weight. At 4-4, Paolini experienced what can only be described as a very slight dip, a micro-hesitation in a moment that demanded total precision, and Eala, with the sharp instincts of a predator who senses the slightest vulnerability, pounced. She created 2 more match points. Her first forehand attempt caught the net. On the second, she wound up, planted her feet, and unloaded one of the most emphatic forehand winners you will ever see in a tiebreak of that magnitude. The ball screamed past Paolini. It landed perfectly. It was done. The eruption that followed was something that, if you were not there to hear it with your own ears, you simply cannot fully appreciate from watching a screen. The chants of Eala were so loud and so sustained that they sounded less like cheering and more like a force of nature, a wave, a tide, unstoppable. Eala dropped her racket. She put her hands on her head. And then, in one of the most wonderful moments in recent tennis history, she addressed her fans directly, speaking to them in Tagalog. A 20-year-old Filipino champion, standing on a tennis court in Dubai, speaking her native language to the crowd of her compatriots who had followed her halfway around the world to watch her do the impossible. Again. The numbers behind this victory tell a story that is as remarkable as the emotional one. The final score was 6-1, 7-6, in exactly 1 hour and 40 minutes. Eala required 5 match points before sealing the deal, 5 moments where she had to reach inside and summon the courage to attempt a match-winning shot under the most intense pressure imaginable. She did it on the 5th. Her serving statistics for the match were the kind that coaches paste to training room walls as aspirational benchmarks. And her record against top 10 players on the WTA Tour now stands, almost impossibly, at 3-2 in her favor, with all 3 wins coming in straight sets. The 3 players she has beaten in straight sets are Iga Swiatek, Madison Keys, and now Jasmine Paolini. The 2 losses, to unnamed opponents who pushed her to a 3rd set each time, have still never seen Eala lose in a tiebreak of any magnitude when it really mattered. There is a pattern forming here, and that pattern spells danger for every single player left in the draw. The historical records that tumbled alongside this victory are equally staggering when placed in proper context. By reaching the round of 16 in Dubai, Eala became the very first Filipino player to achieve that milestone at the Dubai Tennis Championships since the event was first held back in 2001. Think about that, 25 years of this prestigious tournament, and no Filipino player had ever gone this deep. Not one. Until a 20-year-old wildcard from Quezon City showed up, looked Jasmine Paolini directly in the eyes, and decided the wait was over. She also became the first Filipino player to reach the round of 16 at multiple WTA 1000 or Tier 1 events since the introduction of the tiered format back in 1990, a record that stretches back to before Eala was even born. These are not just nice statistics for a player bio. These are the building blocks of a legacy being constructed in real time, one match, one record, one unforgettable night at a time. Now, the tennis world being what it is, relentless, unforgiving, and absolutely unwilling to give you a single moment to exhale, Eala was not permitted to simply enjoy this triumph for very long. Because after dispatching Paolini, she turned around and played Sorana Cîrstea of Romania in the round of 16, and once again, the tennis gods served up another storyline rich in subplot and history. Cîrstea, the world number 32 and a seasoned, KG veteran of the tour, was actually the player who eliminated Eala from the 2024 Madrid Open. Revenge was in the air. And in true Eala fashion, she didn't just win the revenge match, she dominated it, claiming a 7-5, 6-4 victory in a match that saw her race to a 4-0 lead in the second set before Cîrstea found some momentum of her own. Eala steadied, served it out, and advanced to the quarterfinals of a WTA 1000 event for just the second time in her career, with her first coming at the Miami Open during her breakthrough run last year. Dubai is not Miami, but the magic is absolutely the same. And the prize waiting for her in the quarterfinals? Oh, this is where the storyline becomes absolutely irresistible. Waiting for Eala in the quarterfinals of the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships is none other than world number 4, Coco Gauff of the United States. Now, if you know your tennis, and if you watch Court Vision Plus, you absolutely know your tennis, then you already know that this matchup carries an extra layer of intrigue that turns a great story into an absolutely incredible one. Because Coco Gauff and Eala are not just competitors. They are doubles partners. They played together at the 2025 Italian Open. Two of the most exciting young players in women's tennis, both on the ascendant, both already accumulating Grand Slam credentials and major titles, stepping onto opposite sides of the net to battle for a place in the semifinals. The press conference question practically writes itself: what does it feel like to face your doubles partner in a singles quarterfinal? But knowing Eala, knowing the level of composure and competitive ice water that runs through her veins, the answer is going to be something along the lines of, she's a great player, I have a lot of respect for her, and I'm going to try my absolute best to win. Simple. Clinical. Ready. The broader context surrounding Eala's Dubai run is worth spending a moment on, because it places this achievement within a trajectory that is becoming harder and harder to ignore even for the most stubborn skeptics. This is her 6th tournament of the 2026 season. She has already played the ASB Classic in Auckland, the Australian Open, the Philippine Women's Open, the Abu Dhabi Open, and the Qatar Open before arriving in Dubai. Through all of those tournaments, she was gathering rhythm, gathering match experience, working on the serve that is now clearly showing tangible improvement, and preparing, whether consciously or not, for exactly this kind of deep run at a major event. Dubai has given her the stage and the draw, and she has done everything else herself. She is currently ranked 47th in the world. Let that sit with you for a moment. Number 47. She is beating world number 8 players as a wildcard. She is breaking historical records that have stood for a quarter of a century as a 20-year-old. She is drawing crowds that fill arenas in countries where she has no citizenship, where she is simply a young woman with a tennis racket who has captured hearts with her bravery and her brilliance. Imagine what the ranking and the records and the history-making look like in 12 months' time. Imagine what they look like in 3 years. The sport of women's tennis is in one of its most fascinating and dynamic transitional periods in a generation, with the legends of one era beginning to step back while the next generation of champions pushes forward. And right at the very front of that next generation, swinging her left-handed forehand with an authority that sends chills down the spines of the established elite, is Eala. And the timing of all of this? Just days after Eala was named Co-Athlete of the Year by the Philippine Sportswriters Association, an honor that recognized the breadth and impact of her remarkable 2025 season on the entire Philippine sporting landscape, she went out and immediately justified every single vote. The Filipino sporting community has waited a very long time for a homegrown tennis champion to emerge at the highest levels of the game, and Eala is not just meeting those expectations. She is smashing them to pieces, packing them into a bag, and shipping them to some faraway dimension where ordinary expectations live, because what she is doing is not ordinary. It is not what you plan for. It is not what you project on a spreadsheet. This is the kind of once-in-a-generation athletic phenomenon that you simply watch with your eyes as wide open as they will go and feel privileged to be witnessing in real time. There is also a human element to this story that deserves to be told with the same passion as the sporting one. Because behind every winner that Eala lands in a tiebreak, behind every record that falls, behind every Filipino flag waving in a stadium in a foreign country, there is a story of sacrifice, belief, and the very specific kind of love that an entire nation pours into one of its own when they see her carrying the flag on the biggest stages in the world. The Filipino community in the UAE numbers close to 1 million people. Many of them work far from home, sending remittances back to families, building lives in a country that is not their own, maintaining a connection to the Philippines through language and culture and community. When they pack into a tennis stadium to watch Alex Eala play, they are not just watching a sport. They are watching something that belongs to them. Something that proves, with every point won and every opponent dismissed, that Filipino excellence has no geographic boundary and no ceiling. When Eala spoke to them in Tagalog after the Paolini match, every single person in those stands felt it in their chest. This is what sport at its absolute purest looks like. So where does it all go from here? The quarterfinal against Coco Gauff is going to be, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most watched, most discussed, and most electrifying matches of the early 2026 season. Gauff is a different kind of challenge than any Eala has faced so far in Dubai. She is bigger. She serves harder. Her baseline game combines Eala levels of aggression with an additional physical dimension that gives her a wide range of options in any given rally. She is ranked world number 4 for a reason, and she has already proven at 2 Grand Slams that she can win the biggest moments in the sport. This is not Paolini. This is a different beast entirely. But here is the thing, 2 months ago, Jasmine Paolini looked like a different beast entirely too. And Madison Keys before her. And Iga Swiatek before that. At some point, the word upset stops being an adequate description of what Eala is doing, because upsets are supposed to be flukes. They are supposed to be lightning in a bottle, unrepeatable, explainable by circumstance and context. What Eala is doing against top 10 players has a method to it. It has a clarity of intent and execution that does not look like an accident. It looks like a player who genuinely, sincerely believes she is better than every single person who stands across the net from her, regardless of ranking or reputation, and then goes out and proves it. Whether she beats Gauff or not, whether Dubai ends in a quarterfinal exit or continues even further into the draw, one thing is already absolutely certain. The Eala era that the social media hashtags predicted and the Filipino fans demanded has not merely arrived, it has set up a permanent residence, unpacked its suitcases, and hung pictures on the wall. Alex Eala is here. She is 20 years old. She has more top 10 wins than she has years between her and her teenage years. And the tennis world, every coach, every analyst, every opponent she hasn't beaten yet, is going to spend the next several years navigating the very uncomfortable reality that the girl from Quezon City who trained at Rafa Nadal's academy, who won a junior US Open, who broke through as a wild card in Miami, who made history in Dubai, that girl is not a wild card anymore. She is a permanent fixture. She is the future of women's tennis, and the future arrived early. Court Vision Plus was right here when it happened. And so were you. Now listen, if you have made it this far into this video, you are the exact kind of tennis fan this channel was built for. You are the person who wants the full story, the deep dive, the emotion, the history, and the electric drama that makes this sport unlike anything else on the planet. And if you loved every single second of this breakdown, and I know you did, then the absolute least you can do right now is smash that like button until your finger goes numb. We are talking a full palm slam, every single click powering this channel to bring you more coverage exactly like this. And if you are not yet subscribed to Court Vision Plus, what are you doing? Every major Eala match, every volcanic WTA storyline, every deep dive breakdown and post-match analysis lives right here on this channel, and the subscribe button is sitting there waiting for you to make the best decision of your day. Hit it. Ring the notification bell while you are at it, because the next Eala update is going to drop before you even realize you need it. And most importantly, drop your predictions and your thoughts down in the comments right now. Can Eala beat Coco Gauff in the quarterfinal? Can the doubles partners turned opponents produce the match of the 2026 season? Do you think Eala wins Dubai entirely and walks away with her first WTA title? What is the ceiling for this girl, and when does she crack the top 20, the top 10, or even higher? I read every single comment on this channel, and the Court Vision Plus community produces the hottest tennis takes on the internet bar none. This is your moment, go off. Until next time, keep your eyes fixed on the court, keep flying the flag, and never, ever miss an upload from Court Vision Plus. Ale, ale, ale.
Globally, do you have a sense of, sorry, I'm not trying to give you an ego here, but like if you look at the numbers on YouTube for like the pre-tournament press conferences, how much people watch some of yours, is that like